Welcome back to RSW Creative Stained Glass Basics Video 2, the project. Today we're going to be going over your pattern, cutting, grinding, soldering, and patina. As you can see, here's the finished product of what we're going to be making today. If you're following along with me, you can take your pattern that you have here and use carbon paper, and any thin cardboard will work. You just trace out your pattern and then cut it out as you see right here. From there, you can get it drawn out. You cut the pieces out individually. If you're using red or whatever color for the body, you just lay the pattern on there, trace around it with a marker, black, silver, yellow, whatever will stand out so you can see it. On the dark colors like black, I use a gray, so that way you can see it, or if you have a white, use it. Now, once you have your patterns drawn out, you're ready to cut and separate all the pieces. You just cut them in between and you're ready to go. You can just break them off. Well, that one wants to be stubborn. I always take and do all my patterns. I cut them all out. That way, once I get all the pieces cut out, I can go over and grind them all down at the same time. Because after you grind them, you're going to have to give each piece a bath to get the grinding dust off of them. Pieces like this that you have left over, I said get a can last week for put your scrap in. Save pieces like this. For a simple fact, you can create all kinds of things out of them. Here, we used some scrap and we made some scrap chickens. As you can see, you just use the shape of the glass and create whatever you want to with it. So keep your scrap glasses. Oh boy, this one's going to have texture. Okay. He's trying to help me out.
He just got jumped right off there.
It's nice when glass tries to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we got all the pieces separated and ready to cut. Let's see, I'm going to start at the bottom, so I'm going to find its tail. There it is. When you're cutting your patterns out, you draw it out, it's going to be bigger than what the pattern calls for. So you want to cut inside the line. It doesn't matter if you end up cutting on the line or a little outside the line, because you're going to grind it down and make it nice and smooth. You can make it fit. So you just take and cut.
Continuously from bottom to top. Correct?
Correct. Open my can up. And there you have the first piece of your project. I'll be back in a minute, or I'm not going to film me cutting the whole thing. It'll be boring for y'all. So just take and cut all your pieces out, and I'll be back with you when we're done. I said I'd be back after I got all the pieces cut out. I wanted to show you something. If you come up on an arc like this, you could cut it real nice and easy, but sometimes it gets a little tricky. So I wanted to show you a little trick that I found out. And you just take and make your cut like you normally would. You see the knob on the end of your cutter? Tap it. What it does is causes the cut that you made run the length of the cut that you made. And it will vibrate, keep going until it goes all the way through and breaks the piece off like you saw. Now, if you have a shot at getting any training from any classes anywhere around you, I took mine from Bovere Reardon Studios, located in Middletown, Ohio. And they are the oldest continually operated family-owned business in the country. Now, I have heard that they have 2 locations, another one somewhere in the country. I have no idea, but I got my training from them, and at the time they were only teaching lead, how to do the same thing with lead. But as you can see, I have progressed, and now foiling has become so popular that they have actually started teaching it in their classes. So if you get a chance to get some stained glass classes, I would suggest that you take it because it is fantastic. You're learning a lot. I've been playing with stained glass for a couple of weeks before, and I learned a lot from it, and I learned some tricks, and they were nice enough to even help me with some of the things. I'll be back after we get the rest of the pieces cut out. I said last week in the video, you're working with glass, you're going to get nicks and cuts. I just did. I still have about 4 more pieces to cut, and then we'll be ready to continue on. So let me finish these real quick, and we'll get going. Oh, also, don't forget, do not have food, drinks, anything like that near your work area because you're going to get glass shards in it. Cutting, as you can see here, I've got glass shards piling up from cutting. So please just keep your area clean. It's healthier for you. Okay, now all the pieces are cut. I've got them laid out on here. Don't worry if it's not exact to pattern, because a lot of times you're going to be cutting outside the line. Inside the line, it could look a little wavy or whatever. That's where grinding comes in. So now we're going to take, where's my second copy? Move over. There we go. And we're going to take and start grinding our pieces. Now I'm going to grind 1 or 2 pieces, let you see how to do it. I use a grinder's mate, which is basically pliers that slide around on the top of the grinding pad, and it holds the piece with 2 foam rubber jaws. It makes it a lot simpler. You just have to spin the pieces when you get to the other sides. So let's get to grinding and get this fox all ground out, and then we'll move on to the next phase. All right, we're here at the grinder. This is the grinder's mate I was talking about. It's got the 2 rubber jaws in there, which holds the glass, no problem at all. You just slip it in there, and then you can grind. It might be a little noisy, so you might want to turn your volume down a little bit. Also, when you're grinding, I suggest you put in some grinder coolant. It helps keep the motor quiet. I didn't do it. My grinder started squealing at me. I got the coolant, put it in there, squealing went away.
So just coolant, or is there water?
You put water in the tank and 1 cap of grinder coolant in, and you're good to go. So let's get started. always keep a towel handy, wipe it down, get all the glass dust. You see on this backing I have here, you see this all built up right here? That's grinder dust, wet grinder dust. So
So it's actually wet glass.
basically,
So you want to make sure you shield your grinder. And it looks like this is particle board
no, actually
or
it's a poster board.
Poster board. That works. It's actually quite interesting to watch.
Once you do this, you don't have to push hard. The only time you need to put a little force on it is if you're outside the line and you need to get inside the line. You push it in a little bit because that grinder on there, that's diamonds. Here, let me see. I got one in the drawer here somewhere. That's diamonds on that, and that's what grinds the glass.
How many carats is that?
Who knows? We want it.
Piece number 3.
It doesn't take long to grind this stuff. If you like our channel and the different things we have on there, hit that subscribe button down there on below and let us know what you think. Leave us some questions, comments, and we'll be sure to try to get and answer them. And especially if you have an idea on a craft you'd like to see us do.
We see a difference in it already.
Small pieces, you can just barely stick it in there and grind away. Rotate.
Okay, only a few more left, and we are done.
A few more left, about a half a dozen.
Yep, so half a dozen, and we'll be right back.
All right, we got the grinding all done. One thing, you always want to keep your area clean. Get all the glass shards off because it will hamper you as far as cutting, foiling, and laying it out to solder. All right, the next step after cutting, making sure all the pieces are there and you're pretty close to where you need to be, is to give each piece a bath. I know, another step you think is needless. Well, you try to put foil on something that's got grinding dust on it, it isn't going to stick. You can use Windex, I use an all-purpose cleaner, or you can take it in and rinse it off in your sink. I wouldn't advise it because you don't want to get all that grinder dust built up in there.
Hey, did you know Egyptians are accredited for discovering glass?
The Egyptians,
Yep, Mesopotamian potters accidentally discovered glass when firing their vessels. They found Egyptian beads from 2750 BC. They made beads by winding a thin string of molten glass around a removable clay core.
and it's been around ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the first stained glass window recorded is from 675 from Benedict Biscop. He commissioned French workmen to create the stained glass windows for St. Peter in England. I bet those are pretty.
I bet they are. Be interesting to see.
And then it's the 10th century when the biblical scene started showing up in Germany and France. Yeah, it says here the Romans glazed glass into windows.
Yeah, that's where we get the glaze and putty compound that we've got today to put windows in.
And Arabian glass windows appeared in the second half of the 13th century. Of course, a lot of these windows you see in museums, they're copies, and the original is stashed away somewhere in safety.
Well, you don't want people bumping into and breaking a
Right.
2,000-year-old piece of glass,
Yep, that is true.
because whoever broke it would take the rest of their lives and the next lives to pay for
To
it.
pay it back. Yeah, it's an interesting read for those people who are wanting to get into stained glass, is to read up on its history. Yeah, it says there's very few Romanesque windows left, and the ones that are highly protected, and they made duplicates. And this is coming from the Stained Glass Association of America. You can go to stainedglass.org and learn and read all this about stained glass and its origins. And there's Romanesque glass, Gothic stained glass. It's rather interesting. That's where the cathedral windows came in. And the Romanesque style windows in Germany lasted longer than any other. And then, of course, Renaissance stained glass. That's where they started using paint.
You had to paint the features on it.
They started painting stained glass, which we've painted, eyes and whiskers and names and stuff on stained glass. Of course, they bake theirs on.
Yeah. We have a different way of doing it. Instead of firing up an oven or a kiln or whatever.
Huh. It was in the Renaissance period that the diamond cutter came into play.
Wonder what they used.
I don't know.
Obviously a diamond, but
I don't know. In the 15th century, the city of Bruges, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, it's in Belgium, they had 80 stained glass operations. That's incredible.
that's the thing about over there. When something becomes a big craze, it goes hog wild.
That's everywhere.
Yeah, but we're over here in America, we're the last to get it.
Probably.
Well, you stop and look. The Beatles were popular over in Europe and around that area. And then when they finally come to the United States, that was all over with but the shouting.
That was before my time.
Yeah. back in the 60s.
I was just babies. Okay,
right.
back to the fox.
All right, we got it all clean now, and we're ready to do the next part. Is foiling.
Mr. Tiffany's job.
Yeah, this is one of my least favorites because I have neuropathy and I shake a lot, so it's hard for me to get it lined up exactly right. I have two different size foils. I have a 1/4 inch and a 3/16. I use the smaller one for like on small pieces, and I use the 1/4 inch obviously for the bigger pieces. The wider your foil is, the less of the glass is going to show. So just a little tidbit there to help you decide on what you're going to do.
And the dispenser's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can order that dispenser from Anything Stained Glass. You can probably get it at Beauvais Reardon, Amazon, anywhere that sells stained glass.
Okay, so you do that piece and then I'll come around and get a better position.
You want to try to line the foil up dead center with the glass. And then rub it down, pinch your sides over. And when you get to where you started at, you always want to leave a little extra over the top of it and then just finish up what you were doing. And now you have your piece foiled. You want your fid, rub over top to make it as smooth as possible. Depending on your glass is how smooth you're going to get. If it's got texture to it, you're not going to get it very smooth. You do it on the sides. And usually the rule of thumb is if you can run your finger across it and barely feel the foil, you've got it down good. Because you want this as flat as possible. What the heck? And there's piece number one. And you keep on doing it until you have all your pieces foiled, and then we'll be back to show you the soldering techniques I use, and you just have to find the one you're comfortable with. I'll be back in a few.
There we go. You just line that right in the middle.
Just right down the middle of the foil, rub it down on the back, and then pinch it over. Continue doing it all the way around. Then when you get to where you started, go a little bit past. Cut it. Hence is why you want to clean it before you put foil on, so it'll stick.
Okay, so you guys go ahead and finish foiling all your pieces, and then we'll be back in a jiffy.